This podcast is sponsored by Tusk, a continuity of business solution for industries that struggle with traditional banking. Check them out on the web at tusk.network. The Rob McNealy program is the nexus of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and entrepreneurship. Now, welcome to the program. I am talking to Jordan Last. He is the co-founder and chief developer, lead developer of Podcrypt, which is a podcast editing, or not editing, but podcast monetization app that is out there, but it allows people to pay content creators with crypto. And he was on the show a few months back when he was just kind of early in the development stage of Podcrypt. And today, I think Jordan's got some announcements to make. So Jordan, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Awesome. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again.
So what's been going on? It's been a few months since you've been on the show. But before we dive into that, just kind of give us a little bit of your background again for some of the new audience members that didn't actually listen to the old podcast where you first came on. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yep. So I studied computer science. I love open source, got into crypto probably spring of 2017, I believe. And it really goes along with my values. So I love being in the space and came up with the idea for Podcrypt about a year ago and really started putting time in developing it 5 or 6 months ago. So, yep.
So tell us a little bit about what does Podcrypt do and what's unique about this app?
So yeah, first off, Podcrypt is a podcast listening app or a podcatcher. So essentially you can listen to any podcast you want on it. You can search for podcasts or you can put an RSS feed directly in it. So that's, first and foremost what Podcrypt is. And then on top of that, it allows you to set up one recurring donation that can be automatically split between the podcasts that you listen to. And some of it will go to Podcrypt. So essentially it lets you listen to podcasts and lets you donate back automatically, which, there's other platforms like Patreon that let you donate, but as far as I know, there's nothing that will take one donation and figure out the amounts that should go to each podcast. So Podcrypt really kind of gets rid of that marginal friction for signing up for individual podcast donations.
So is Podcrypt then essentially a crypto wallet? Does it have wallet capability built into it, or how do you fund a a Podcrypt wallet or the system?
So yeah, it has a wallet built directly into it, and you have your own public key and private key. So if you want to fund your wallet, you just send money to the public key, the address, and yeah, I'm working to put credit card and debit card and bank account funding directly into the app. So hopefully soon you'll be able to just whip out your card and fund your Podcrypt wallet right from within Podcrypt.
So someone would later on, this will be a feature, but someone would be able to use their credit card and buy crypto real time and then distribute it via crypto through the different people you're donating to?
Yeah, so you would just, you just on-ramp into Podcrypt. So you'd be like, okay, I want to fill up my wallet with $50. So put your credit card in. It will send $50 of ETH or whatever cryptocurrency is going to be supported, and then Podcrypt takes over from there.
So how is this different than something like a Patreon? Why would I use a Podcrypt kind of app to pay providers of content and content creators? Why would I use Podcrypt over, say, like Patreon or one of those other websites?
I think the biggest reason is it's the marginal friction of those platforms, which means, or what I mean by that is, on Patreon, you have to go and sign up to be a patron for every single content creator that you wish to donate to, as far as I understand. And I mean, to make a difference to them, you're probably going to give at least a few dollars a month. And my hypothesis is that after a handful of content creators, after you've signed up to be a patron for a handful of content creators, you are kind of done after that. And deciding who you want to contribute to and how much you want to contribute, it just doesn't scale. on a per user basis. So Podcrypt kind of gets rid of all that friction and just says, all you need to do is subscribe to the podcasting genre in general. And then Podcrypt will take your amount and it will determine, based on how much time you listen, how much to pay out to each of those podcasts.
So if I was a content creator and someone wanted to pay me with ETH or whatever cryptos you support, how much of that goes to the actual creator versus overhead to the app, to you guys in your team?
So right now, 10% goes to Podcrypt. That's just a hard-coded amount to test it out. But by the way, the beta is launching today. So
well, awesome. And I'm going to be downloading it. Is it available in iOS, Android, or which platforms is it available on?
It's a web app, so it's on essentially every platform. I mean, there might be some bugs with certain browsers, but I use it as a progressive web app installed to my home screen on Android. So that's through Chrome. And then if you're on iOS, you should be able to use Safari just fine. And on your desktop,
I think it's a smart move. Going through the web stores these days seems to be a treacherous endeavor to get an app approved for anything, especially crypto related. Seems to have been a big issue. So I think that's a smart move. So one of the things that I find interesting about Podcrypt, at least when we initially discussed this a few months ago, is that if I'm a content creator, I don't really have to do much to be a recipient of Podcrypt funds, right? Can you discuss or describe a little bit what that looks like as you want to onboard content creators? What does that look like from the content creator side of it? What do they have to do to work? So this is
something that's I think a very valuable feature of Podcrypt that's actually not specific to Podcrypt. So the way you onboard yourself or the way you sign up is you take your cryptocurrency address right now, an Ethereum address, and you just put it into the description of your podcast. So the main description. And once you do that, that's it. You become verified on the platform. So, you can remove the address at any time, or any other podcast app or any other, any application that wants to provide donations or any kind of, cryptocurrency type transaction capabilities. All they have to do is parse that address out of your description, and they can do what they want with it. So that's exactly what Podcrypt does. Just uses the already decentralized podcasting infrastructure and the RSS feed, and just pops out the address, and it can provide donations from there.
So what I think is really cool about that is that people can monetize their content and still control the content without having to go through a Patreon website or one of those other pod hosting services. So for instance, with this podcast, I don't host it through there's a lot of podcast hosting services out there, the Lipsing and some of those, and I don't use any of those. I just have all the podcast materials, all my audio and video files, other than my YouTube videos, all my audio is hosted right on my domain name. So I control that content. I'm a little more old school when it comes to social media and things like that. I've been in this space for a long time. And what I have found is, I like holding on and controlling my content. Whereas it seems like in the last 5-10 years, people have moved a lot of their content off to other channels. And then what happens is they're shocked when all of a sudden their terms of service changes or something else, and then they get completely deplatformed. And they're just out of luck, right? Especially these people that have made a living from content creating. So what's cool about what you're doing is people can control their content and still monetize it without having to go through a third-party gatekeeper. And to me, that is really, really awesome and cool, because that goes to my ethos of decentralization and dilution of power. You're getting rid of a gatekeeper here. And on top of that, I think your split is more than fair, where, content creators, by doing this, because you're eliminating all the overhead of what those third-party websites require, you're actually, the content creators now are able to keep a lot more of the money and the share of what they're producing. And I think that's really good for the individual content creator out there.
Sweet. Yep. I agree.
So you say you're going to beta now, so it's ready for prime time. So where can people find out about the beta? Where can they download and get Podcrypt.
So we just open up your web browser and you just go to podcrypt.app. So that's podcrypt.app, podcrypt.app. And it will just load right in your browser, and you can start using it instantly just to listen to podcasts. Just go to the menu and click on the wallet, and your balance will start off at 0, but there'll be an option there for you to send ETH into your wallet, and you can just get going.
So right now with Podcrypt, do you only support Ethereum, or do you support other cryptos yet?
Only Ethereum currently. Yep.
Is that something you're going to look at going out to others like Bitcoin or Litecoin or things like that in the future?
Yes. The next coin on the roadmap is DAI. It's a decentralized stablecoin that's pegged to the US dollar. So that will be the next one I integrate. And then I guess we'll just go from there. Bitcoin it'd be nice to integrate Bitcoin because, the Bitcoin community is very enthusiastic. And
right.
A lot of people I've talked to, they kind of dismiss Podcrypt immediately because it's on Ethereum. So it would be nice, but Bitcoin has some technical challenges around, especially its transaction.
Around everything.
Yeah, so we'll see. There's some interesting, like WBTC is Wrap Bitcoin. It's a custodial solution that puts Bitcoin on Ethereum. TBTC is a more trustless solution that's putting Bitcoin on Ethereum. So who knows? We'll see. There's starting with Ethereum, proving out the concept. DAI is the next one, and we'll see from there.
So right now, how big is your team on this project? How many people are working on your project here?
2 people, but it's mostly me doing all the work right now.
Are you looking to grow the team, or are you looking to take investors or anything like that?
Right now, I'm definitely looking for non-equity funding, so grants or anything. I would love to go full-time. I'm part-time on it right now. But beyond that, no, I'm not really looking to scale yet.
Very cool. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and I wish you luck. And I want everybody out there to go to podcrypt.app and download this app and start monetizing your favorite podcast.
Awesome. Thank you.
You have a great day, sir. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Rob McNealy program. Make sure you check us out on the web at robmcnealy.com and subscribe to our podcast at YouTube, iTunes, and on the Google Play Store.